The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Rich Eisen has quite the take on what the Jets' plans are for quarterback going forward. Do you agree with Rich? We'll talk about that and the latest with the New York Jets. Matt O'Leary will join us. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started.
I let the organization down, and I let the players down, and that burns me. It really does. This season's on me, and we're going to work our ass off to get this shit exactly where it needs to be.
A new chapter for the Jets has started. Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji are tasked with shaping the future of this franchise. Will they be the ones to finally get it right? We will be here for every step of the journey on the Jake Asman Show, breaking down all the storylines, every game, and everything in between. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chats, baby. Cut the line. The Jake Asman Show starts right now.
Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. Hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. We will talk about the AFC and the NFC title game in this show. But a reminder before we bring on our guest, Matt O'Leary, next week we are live from the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. We will be live from the Radio Row there, interviewing some of the top prospects that are attending. We'll have draft analysts on. I'll be joined every day by Dom C. and Dylan Terriman to get their breakdown and recaps of all the practices. So next week, make sure you tune in live, as we'll be live throughout the week from the Senior Bowl in Alabama. With that, we say hello to our guy who joins us every single Thursday at this time. It's Matt O'Leary, who, of course, covers the Jets on his channel, Matt O'Leary NY. Matt, before we talk Jets, you're a Met fan. I know a lot of Jet fans are Met fans. You got to be feeling pretty good about the Peralta trade last night.
Absolutely. It's been a good week for the Mets. I was a little nervous. I was telling you before we got on, a little nervous with how the offseason started. A lot of familiar faces out, but love the moves they made this week. They need a big-time arm. They get that in Peralta. So feeling pretty good headed into spring training in a few weeks.
So the Mets have made some moves. The Yankees, they bring back Cody Bellinger. So baseball fans in New York at least have some things to be optimistic about. I don't know if we could say the same about our football team, but hey, it is the offseason. There are a lot of things happening. Let's get to these comments here from Rich Eisen. I pulled the clip from his radio show that's simulcast on ESPN Plus now. A caller called in to talk to Rich about the Jets' options at quarterback, and Rich's answer here I thought was wild. So I'll play it. We can react in real time. This was Rich Eisen, courtesy of his show, The Rich Eisen Show.
I think there's any possibility or would be any value in throwing some of those first-round picks at a C.J. Stroud, at a Lamar Jackson.
Heck,
there's
no.
any possibility
No way.
that would be
No way. The Jets mortgaged their present in 2025 for the 2027 draft. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. They have 3 first-rounders in that draft. Their own, the Colts, second one from the Sauce Gardner trade. They're going to use that one 16th overall in the upcoming draft, and the Cowboys one in 2027, wherever that may land. That's 3 first-rounders in the draft where Arch Manning lives, and whoever else that you think that the Jets have clearly looked at and purposefully are putting their eggs in the 2027 basket. And so this year, even if somehow, some way Mendoza drops to them, I would even counsel them to let him slide. They're not ready for him yet. They need to amass big-time playmakers, and I'm not talking about on offense either. They need to look at somebody who is going to be a difference maker anywhere and choose him and know that the quarterback's coming. I don't know who they would choose to be their quarterback next year, but that's what I think they're planning on doing. The Jets aren't ready. As I said the other day, Moore did them a favor to say, I want to stick around in Oregon. And then you just have to trust that their new brain trust is going to get it right. And that somehow, some way, it doesn't go sideways again. And
who's starting next year?
I for the Jets?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's on the team right now.
Right.
I don't know. Get a veteran who's going to slop you through it and maybe give you a good shot, because there's a reason why they told the Cowboys first rounder in 2027, not next year, please.
Okay, so a lot to react to there from Rich. The part at the end we could quickly address. Rich, their starter for 2026 is not on the roster right now. All right, it's not Brady Cook. It's not Justin Fields. And it's not going to be Tyrod Taylor. Maybe Tyrod is brought back as one of the options in the room, but he's not the week one starter. I think, Matt, we could agree on that one for starters.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like Tyrod's a free agent too, so he's not on the roster. And if they brought him back, maybe that'd be different. But I think at 37, you're probably good letting him walk. Justin Fields is going to be a post-1, June cut. If they're starting Brady Cook or Bailey Zappi, God help us all in 2026.
Now, the beginning of his comments, he talks about, in response to the caller, hey, don't go after C.J. Stroud or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, whatever veteran option will be speculated on. And I agree that obviously the Jets aren't equipped to just trade all these assets for like a C.J. Stroud. The conversation, I think, is different if you're talking about a Burrow or a Lamar. But it doesn't sound like either of those guys are going to be moved, especially Lamar, because part of the reason they moved on from Harbaugh is some of the issues that Lamar reportedly had with Todd Monken. They're starting fresh there. A coach is taking that job to coach Lamar Jackson. So I think we can remove Lamar. Doesn't sound like Burrow's going anywhere. Plus, he's got the full no trade. I don't think any Jet fan, after watching C.J. Stroud in the playoffs, wants him either.
No, that's a tougher sell. And I might be one of the few that's still holding on to some C.J. Stroud stock, but that looks like someone who's really broken. And I don't think him coming to the New York Jets as a broken quarterback is the recipe for him to start figuring it out.
Now, I agree with Rich's comment that Dante Moore going back to school did the Jets a favor, because I think they would have overdrafted him and tried to sell themselves on, this is the best guy. We got this plan. We'll let him sit. And we know that when you say you want a guy to sit, very rarely does that actually happen, especially when Aaron Glenn needs to win games to save his job. And if the Jets get off to a bad start, one of the levers Glenn could pull is going to the rookie. And if he shows anything, you could sell ownership on, hey, I got my guy. Give me more time. We're going to build around him. So I agree with that standpoint. Where I think Rich is wrong is the idea that when the Jets made the trade, it was about 2027 for the quarterback. I think they truly wanted to get their quarterback in 2026. That's why they were playing Brady Cook at the end of the year. They were trying to be in position to get a quarterback. What happened, though, was that the quarterback class of 2026 didn't play well enough outside of Fernando Mendoza to justify using the top pick in the draft on one of those guys. I mean, maybe they convinced themselves at pick 16 on Ty Simpson, or if Trinidad Chambliss is in the draft, they're sold on him. But their plan was to get Fernando Mendoza or whoever else emerged, maybe Dante Moore, but he didn't even play well enough to justify, you could argue, the second pick. So I think that was their plan when they made the deal, knowing full well that, yeah, they would have the 3 1s in 2027. But I think their original plan was to try and figure out quarterback now, because Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn aren't guaranteed a 2027.
Yeah, and that's where I totally agree with you. I would be surprised in a way if they completely forego quarterback in 2026, because like, what's their option? They're going to like die on the hill and never take the swing at quarterback. It doesn't make sense, right? Because if they win 4 or 5 games next year, yeah, it's improvement from 3 wins, but that's probably not enough, right? 8 wins in 2 years, I don't think is enough to get you a third year for either of those two guys. I was also a little surprised with Rich too, saying that he'd also pass on Fernando Mendoza if he made it to 2. I can't get there. I think Fernando goes number 1 overall, but in some capacity, if the Raiders did something silly and did not take him number 1, and the Jets didn't have to trade up all those picks to get him at number 1, and he's just sitting free right there with the number 2 pick, I'd have a very, very hard time not taking Fernando Mendoza there.
Totally agree. And when he says they're not ready, what exactly does that mean? They're not ready? Because I actually could argue, despite my reservations with the head coach and the offensive staff, at least from a talent standpoint, Matt, the Jets' offensive line is the best it's been for a rookie quarterback since Mark Sanchez stepped into the best O-line in the league. The Jets have a number 1 wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. If they bring Brees back to complement Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, you have a solid running back room. I think another year of seasoning from Mason Taylor, he could be a good player. You have $100 million in cap to address wide receiver 2, or one of these premium picks that you could use in the draft to get yourself a number 2 wide receiver. Or maybe you make a trade, you have AD Mitchell who could be your number 3. Like, again, what does it mean when he says, oh, they're not ready for a quarterback? They're ready on offense for a quarterback. The coaching is the biggest question. But if you have a chance to get Fernando Mendoza, we've seen that you could survive a bad coach for a year with a top QB prospect. You just got to get the right coach for that guy if they move on from Glenn in a year. So that's the part I disagree with him the most. I think if you have a chance to get Mendoza, you take him. Were the Patriots ready for Drake May when they drafted him with Gerard Mayo 3rd overall? No, it didn't work. But a year later, they got the right coach and OC for Drake May, and he's playing on Sunday in the AFC title game. So the idea that, oh, you're not ready for a top QB, I don't buy that. If the guy is legit, you got to hope that he could handle a year of maybe messy coaching, and ultimately you get it right because you're betting on that quarterback being that guy.
Yeah, and look at you just laid it out with the situation on offense. I think we could all agree that it's definitely a better situation than Sam Darnold walked into in 2018. And I'd argue it's a better situation than Zach walked into. And I'm not, going to defend Zach Wilson here today, but the offensive line was a disaster for both those two quarterbacks. They didn't have a wide receiver one. They had major question marks in the running back room. And, with the weapons, that's not going to be the case with the Jets in 2026. You have, like you said, you have Garrett Wilson. You could bring Breece Hall back. If you don't, well, there's guys in free agency that you can go after, Walker or Travis Etienne or whoever else. And if you add another wide receiver there, I feel pretty good about that room too. So they would still need a lot of work on defense. As you mentioned, the head coach and the rest of the staff is clearly a major question mark, but I don't buy that they're not ready on offense for a quarterback if Fernando Mendoza was there at number 2.
You're not guaranteed to be picking this high again next year. So what you have to hope is if you're not at 2 or you're not at 1 to get Arch Manning, right, then you're in a spot where the quarterback class in general is just a lot better and there's more options. And you have 3 first-round picks, so you have the ability to navigate the draft board a little bit and move up if need be. But I understand the premise of, hey, don't force the pick, wait till 2027 when you have the 3 ones. But I don't think they determined at the trade deadline, yeah, we're punting on quarterback in 2026. We're all about 2027 when there's a strong possibility if the Jets win 6 games or fewer and they have 9 wins through 2 years, this regime is out and these picks are being used for the next regime coming in as a selling point for them to take the job.
Yeah, it's like, oh, thank you, Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn, for these 3 first-rounders. And if they, have another disaster coaching job and are picking in the top 3 with one of them and then, a couple other picks somewhere between 15 and 20 or whatever, and that's a really big selling point for someone to come in here. But I think, like I said, I'd be surprised if they don't take any sort of swing. Maybe it's not in the first round. Maybe it's not Ty Simpson, but I think they'll bring in some veteran and then maybe it is a trade up for Ty Simpson or take him at 16, or maybe they like Garrett Nussmeier on day 2 or, Chambliss or whoever else. Right. So we'll see, but that'd be very, very surprising. Rich had me in the first half. I was kind of with him for a little bit. And then, like you said, it gets a little off the rails.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you could take Mendoza and you think he's the top guy, you take him. I mean, that's the bottom line. I'm still not convinced the Jets don't take Ty Simpson at 16 when it's all said and done. But at least, if you take Simpson at 16 and it doesn't work, it doesn't cripple you like potentially using the second pick on a player would, and then having to do a redo a year later with a brand new coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, the comparison, I know Kyler Murray is going to be on the market now, but the Cardinals, they took Josh Rosen in the first round, and it wasn't a number 2 overall pick, but then they were in a situation where they ended up with the number 1 pick, and they just took Kyler Murray. The new coaching staff, decided to move on, and I think we could all agree, even though Kyler isn't the player that he once was, that at the time, right decision that they made. So, not that I want to think about if you draft Ty Simpson moving on from him after a year, but I guess theoretically that is an option for them if things don't go well in year 1.
Comments, questions, super chats will cut the line. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to announce that today's daily raffle prize at the end of the show is a signed Darrelle Revis helmet. If you want the helmet signed by the GOAT, you got to enter the Asmaniac raffle. Gift a channel membership if you're watching on a computer. Send in a $10 super chat if you're on your phone. That is the way to enter the raffle for 2 if it's a $10 super chat. $20 super chats 5, $50 super chat 10, so on and so forth. And for every, of course, membership you gift, that's how many raffle tickets you get. You also will be entered in the weekly raffle for a signed Curtis Martin helmet and a signed Broadway Joe Namath helmet. Comments, questions, super chats, they cut the line. Drones says, If Mendoza somehow falls to you at 2, you have to take him. Shake my head. And I want Ruben Bain at 2. But damn, I don't know how you cannot pick Mendoza at that point. You need to get a quarterback. And again, we could debate just how good Fernando Mendoza is. All these guys need coaching. All these guys are question marks. But Mendoza, to me, checks off the boxes of a guy that would be the perfect candidate to take the swing on at the top of the draft. He won a ton in college. He's deadly accurate. He's really smart. I think personality-wise, he can handle New York, which to me is a huge deal. And look, he's got the prototypical size. He's a gamer. I would have no issue taking the swing on him. I think the problem is he's going to go to the Raiders at 1. It won't even be an option for the Jets.
Yeah, it feels that way, right? And the Raiders brass was at the national championship game and got a close look at him. And with how he played in that one, I thought it was a gutsy performance. So it'd be an absolute shock if he's not the number 1 pick with the Raiders at that point. So I'm with this comment. I don't know how you would possibly pass on him, even if you like someone like Bain. I like Ruben Bain. I like Arvell Reese. I think those would be really nice additions to this defense. But just gift wrapping Fernando Mendoza to the Cardinals at 3, I can't get behind it.
Uno Jet says, Jake, put me in. You are in. Uno Jets, you just purchased 2 raffle tickets. Thanks for supporting the show. Daniel with the super chat. He says, the Jets suck, but y'all don't. Keep it up, boys. We're built for this, as Aaron Glenn would say. Matt and I, we do content year-round on the Jets, despite how bad they've been. So we'll just keep churning along.
24/7, 365. We're not going anywhere. This is about as bad as it's been, though, to be fair.
Yep. Usually we're optimistic in the offseason, too. That's what's sad.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen really anyone who's optimistic right now going into the offseason. But who knows? They'll make a big trade or sign someone and we'll be roped back in. Happens every year.
100%. Yesterday, Mel Kiper Jr. had his mock draft, his first one of the offseason, come out. At number 2, the Jets selected Arvell Reese. But at 16, they did take a quarterback. They selected Ty Simpson from Alabama. Matt, your reaction draft night if the Jets take Simpson at 16?
I think there's some things with Ty Simpson that make him an interesting prospect. And there's some who are going to say that's too early for him, but like the Steelers pick at 21. So I don't really know if he makes it past 21. So if you took him at 16, I don't think it's that much of a reach. My issue with Ty Simpson is that I don't think he's ready to start out of the gate. He's an older prospect, but he hasn't started a ton of games. So I would really want to sit him behind a veteran. However, during the scenario we laid out earlier in the show, if the Jets start like 1-5 through the first 6 weeks, I think they'd pull the plug on whoever veteran, whatever they're starting right now, and then turn the keys over to a Ty Simpson. And my worry would be that he isn't ready and they're throwing him in too soon to try to save their jobs.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. My big thing with taking Simpson at 16 is if everyone says he needs to sit, then how will we know after a year if he's going to be able to go out there and be the guy next year, when in reality, if they don't win enough games in 2026, you're going to have a brand new regime coming in, certainly a new coaching staff that has no idea what Ty Simpson is. We have no idea how they would feel about him. What do you do if you're in position in a perceived better quarterback class a year from now to go out there and take someone that you think is better than what Ty Simpson is, who would have either no film or very little film? So how would you form an accurate assessment on who he is?
That's a very, very good point. I think it would depend on how they evaluated him coming out of school. And, I don't think you hire someone just because they were high on Ty Simpson, right? Like if you drafted Simpson, you move on from Glenn. I don't think you're then going, okay, well, we're going to throw out these top candidates because they maybe wanted to go a different direction at quarterback, but our 5th best option here likes Ty Simpson and wants to work with him, so we'll hire him. At that point, I think you just go with one of the top guys and decide to move on, but it's putting yourself in a tough situation. And the reality is there's not a perfect answer for the Jets at quarterback. There's massive risk and scenarios with every option that they go, and it's a really tough call this offseason.
Like, I guess you could trade Ty Simpson, as M123 says, but then you're just burning the 16th pick where you could get a really good player.
Exactly. And you're not getting a first-round pick back for Ty Simpson, right? You're selling at a loss at that point, which I guess it's better than losing him for nothing, but it kind of feels like you would waste the 16th overall pick in that scenario.
Amanda writes in, I like Trinidad Chambliss if he declares, probably would be his best interest as he's a top 5 QB in the 2026 draft. He could go round 1, Amanda, if he comes out, just at a supply and demand. There's just not a ton of quarterbacks that are going to go early in this draft.
Yeah, there isn't. I'm very curious to see what he ends up measuring in at. I know he's listed at like 6'1" or 6'2", but there's rumblings that he's going to come in under that. So that's kind of something that I'm looking for at the combine, which is still a few weeks away. But yeah, there's a lot of people that really like him, and credit to him at Ole Miss. He wasn't the starter to begin the season, but took that job over, played really well. They go on a nice playoff run. So it would not shock me if he has some real first round interest at some point.
The real two cruising makes the point we were just saying. Good comment here. If you take Simpson at 16, you sit him for the year. How do you know what we have prior to the 2027 draft? If you draft, you need to play him, right? And that's the issue with Simpson. He's got 15 career starts. And if everyone says, oh, well, he needs to sit, well, how do you know what you have a year from now when you're in position to potentially get a better quarterback prospect with one of your 3 first rounders?
Yeah, that's a great point from Real Two Cruising, man. It's because then you risk like, okay, we want to see what he is and evaluate him, but you're going to put him in too early anyway, and he probably wouldn't look good in that scenario. So it's hard to justify. It's very hard to justify.
Kill Your Ego says Jets will win 2 games tops this year. I'll tell you what, if they won 3 this past year, they're going to win at least 3 next year.
It's very hard for me to think that this team is going to be worse in the win department next year. Now, this isn't a proclamation that they're going to go out and win 9 games next year. Let's not get nuts. There's major questions with the coaching staff, but you'd have to imagine that the talent on this roster is going to be better than what it was in 2025. So I would say they are not a 3-win team, but how much higher than that? It might not be much.
That is a big part of all this. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Matt O'Leary is with us here. If you want to enter the Darrelle Revis helmet raffle, make sure you gift a membership or send in a super chat that qualifies to get in. We are going to get into some of your calls, but first, some other Jet-related conversation that I want to get Matt's thoughts on. So the quarterback situation, before we even get to the draft, we'll have a better idea on what the room looks like because you'll have free agency in the trade market by then. There was an anonymous AFC executive who linked the Jets to these 3 passers: Geno Smith, Tua Tagovailoa, and Kyler Murray. If you're the Jets, do any of these 3 intrigue you?
Not a ton. I wouldn't trade for Kyler Murray, but if he's released, I think he's the best of that bunch and probably offers you the highest ceiling. I guess Malik Willis, you can maybe argue, but I mean, he has like 6 starts under his belt. Part of me doesn't really understand the Malik Willis love that he's getting right now. I guess it's just because he's a little bit of an unknown, and you're going to bet on the upside there. But of this crew, I think it's Kyler by a pretty significant margin. Geno looks done at this point. Unfortunately, he turned it around for a few years, but has not looked very good. And Tua, he can't play in the cold. If Tua goes to a dome team, I could see him having some success, but I don't see him coming to New York and being the savior.
Hit the like button. Matt O'Leary is with us here. Super chats, cut the line. This one is from Bino. Thank you, Bino. He says, Nussmeier was injured in 2025. He has the starts, has good pre-snap and processing, in my opinion. He's a better dart to throw at QB in 26 than any of these other QBs. I actually like that take a lot, Bino. A year ago, Nussmeier was the projected first pick in the draft, according to Todd McShay, to the Jets, and his way too early mock for 2026. So it just shows you how quickly things can change. He's the son of a coach. He's played high-level competition. He was not healthy this year. That's a big part of it. You got to really investigate that. He's going to be at the Senior Bowl next week. I think he's got a chance to really help his stock with a good performance.
Yeah, I think so too. And at least with Nussmeier, even if his stock does rise, I don't think it would be enough to get into the first round. So you could still take your really quality players at pick number 2 and 16, and then either take a swing at 33 or 44 at Garrett Nussmeier. And that wouldn't stop you from taking a quarterback in 2027 if you're taking one in the second round. I definitely see the intrigue with Garrett Nussmeier. I think he was playing hurt. And I don't know if he just kind of forgot how to play football in 1 year. I don't really buy it. So I would be open to that.
Nussmeier and Drew Aller are the 2 day 2/early day 3 quarterback dart throws that personally intrigue me the most. Because a year ago, we were talking about these guys as top 10 picks in the draft. They had bad years. In the case of Aller, he got hurt, and Penn State was such a mess with James Franklin getting fired in the middle of the year. So, those are the 2 guys that I'm the most intrigued by outside of the conversation centered around Ty Simpson and Trinidad Chambliss.
Yeah, and I would prefer Nussmeier over Aller, I think, just because I find Aller so frustrating because he has the prototypical size, he has the traits, and even despite that, and I know the situation stinks, and that's got to be a part of the evaluation too, but just felt like he came up small in a lot of big games, and in any big game Penn State played, I don't think he played all that well. He has the big arm, but he likes to check it down a lot. I think he's a little conservative, so I just think he's a frustrating prospect. So I get it why some people like him. I think if you like traits out of a quarterback, that's going to be your guy. But I'm kind of tired of taking the swing on traits and it not panning out.
I'm there with you. Bucks Fanatic in the raffle for 2 says, "Go Bucks and go Jets." Bucks Fanatic living the Todd Bowles experience. He's got the fire Bowles in his emblem there, Matt.
Yeah, been there, done that. I feel you on the head coach. It's I know they've won a decent amount with Todd Bowles, the head coach, but I think they'll be moving on soon.
Black Gypsy writes in, "If Tua comes here, he will get hurt and end his career in a scary way." Well, if your goal is to march for Arch, Black Gypsy, Tua might be exactly what we need.
March for Arch. Love it. Starting it in January of 2026. We're over a year out from a possibility of them being able to draft Arch Manning. It's special time in Jets land.
Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. We're going to get to your calls coming up, so make sure you click the Gusbuster Umbrella hotline link, gusbuster.com, promo code Jake25 to get a discount on the #1 umbrella. The DC search, it continues. There was a report earlier this week from The Athletic that Wink Martindale is the favorite to get the job. Where are you at with the Jets DC search right now, Matt?
I would be very concerned if Wink Martindale is the hire. I don't think that's the route that I would want to go. It feels very similar to what they did with Steve Wilkes, a veteran, a name that you know, but whose best days are probably behind him. I also think with how things ended with the Giants, it felt very toxic, and I just don't want that kind of personality in here. I think Jim Leonard's far and away the best candidate on that list. If they'd actually get him to come here is another question, but not a very inspiring list of candidates for the Jets DC job.
It's just not great. You know, I did get a kick out of the Albert Breer tweet that Chris Harris had his second interview with the Jets. He referred to him as a rising star. And my thing is, well, this guy's a rising star in league circles. Well, the Jets just have to hire him, right? Like, why wouldn't you hire a rising star? We're lucky that he's not interviewing for all these other jobs around the league to be a DC if he's such a rising star.
It's a valid point. I must have missed when he got the interview for Green Bay and Dallas and all these other spots. So, yeah, it can't be Chris Harris, right?
God help us if it is. I mean, look, if you're already so out on the Jets and you want them to lose, then yeah, maybe you should be rooting for Chris Harris. But for everyone who wants to have some hope on January 22nd before, you know, we give up on the year, I would say if you retain the D-backs coach, who was named the interim DC, and the defense actually got worse post Steve Wilkes being fired, and the D-backs and the rest of the defense broke a record that will never be broken for having 0 interceptions over a 17-game season, I'd say, yeah, you don't want to hire that guy.
Fair point, Jake. Fair point.
So there was a story in The Athletic, and then Zach Rosenblatt, who wrote the story, and Connor Hughes of SNY both talked about this on their podcast yesterday. JPA Football has the quotes. There were 2, quote, big-name defensive coordinator candidates the Jets had interest in, but that interest was not reciprocated. That's according to Connor Hughes. And then Zach Rosenblatt said that there have been more than those 2 people that were like, no, thank you. I don't really want to take that interview, which kind of confirms what I've said the whole time. It's not an attractive job right now. You got a coach who's on the hot seat. The defensive players, while there's some talent, it's not as talented of a roster as some of the other openings around the league. And I think it comes back to the fact, like, Aaron Glenn's a 1-5 start away from possibly being this year's Brian Callahan as the first coach fired during the season. So I just feel like this should not be a surprise, even though I saw this went viral all over social media yesterday.
No, it's really not surprising. And I hate to say it that way, right? Like, we don't want to hear that about our team, but it's the truth, right? Like, as you mentioned, with Glenn's on the hot seat, and this wasn't the first time. Even a year ago, there were rumors that, you know, Ben Johnson didn't want to take the interview, so they didn't even offer the interview request. It's not an attractive job for a bunch of different reasons. For this one in particular, you have a coach who's potentially a lame duck coach. You have no answer at quarterback right now. Not a lot of talent on defense, and an owner that isn't very good. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. It's not just the one thing, but unfortunately, not surprised to hear that when that came out yesterday.
I do wonder who the quote 2 big names were. My guess is one of them was Raheem Morris, given his ties to Aaron Glenn. And I'm thinking of the other names. I mean, Jonathan Gannon is out there. Brian Flores is out there, although there's a new story that he's going back to the Vikings unless he becomes a head coach. I'm just wondering who the quote 2 big name defensive coordinator options were that said no thanks to Aaron Glenn.
And maybe Jim Schwartz too to throw that in there. The names you just rattled off seem to make the most sense. Former, guys who were just fired as a head coach, or bigger candidates in Brian Flores and Jim Schwartz, who both those guys even getting head coaching interviews during this cycle. So I think those are all fair guesses.
I mean, Jim Leonard took this interview. Might be a courtesy, but that's a guy that would actually get the fan base excited if Glenn can land him.
Can they just throw a bag of money at him and say, please take this job?
Please save us.
He's by far the best option out of the 7 remaining.
Yeah, one of the guys that they interviewed took a job on the Jaguars coaching staff, the Dolphins, assistant DB coach, or might have been their full-time DB coach.
Yeah, and I don't think he was ready either to make the step up. He didn't have a great resume, like Caden Kohu, or however you say his name, was like his number one story that he helped develop him from a UDFA to a mediocre starter. So I don't think that would have been a wise defensive coordinator hire anyway.
It's amazing. Ruben writes in, this is possibly the worst case scenario for the Jets. A dead man walking as head coach. No top DC wants to come and apply. We're stuck with another losing season. Perhaps. And look, if they have a losing season, I'll continue to say it. I do think there's light at the end of the tunnel, because if you just look at the league, over half the league will have a first or second year coach going into 2027. The Jets might be one of only 5 openings. You might be one of the more attractive openings, given the fact you'd have the cap space, the draft capital, and there are some good players still on this team that are young and will be under contract.
Yeah, they're going to add, at least 2 first rounders, and, they have other top 50 picks going into this draft. Hopefully that improves the defense and it continues to add talent to this roster. And then, you have 3 first round picks next year. So I don't know how many jobs are going to be open a year from now. In comparison to the Jets job, that's obviously going to be something that we talk a lot about if that becomes the case. But, they have cap space, they have draft picks, and, we'll see what they add to the roster this year. I think, obviously best case scenario is a long shot, but best case scenario, Aaron Glenn is good and he's the guy and you don't have to go through another search again. But it's not a fun place to be right now.
First State Jet says, I'm out on Glenn, but they decided to keep him. If the team doesn't come out on fire on opening day, it's going to get ugly quick. Well, I mean, they came out on fire on opening day this past year and they didn't win. And then it led to them starting 0-7 anyway. So, to me, it's about winning games, man. That's the only thing that will save Aaron Glenn. You can't sell progress if you go from 3 wins to 5 wins or 6 wins. It's not enough. You got to really show that you're winning games against division opponents. You're punching above your weight. And you're finding ways to show that this team is being better coached. There's actual player development on both sides of the ball we could specifically point to. It can't just be, the special teams is great and we had no field goals blocked. So, we went from 3 wins to 5. That's improvement. We got to run it back for year 3. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not. They got to win more. They got to win more games in 2026. And I think they realize that. I think it's both, Glenn and Muji. I know, Muji is, I would say, much more popular among Jet fans right now, but I don't think his job is guaranteed safe for 2027 either. And, Woody Johnson essentially referred to him as Aaron Glenn's sidekick. So I think they're in this together, and it's important for both of them, for this team to stack some wins going into the 2026 season so that they can keep their jobs for another year.
Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Appreciate all you guys being tuned into the show. Jet fans, we are all on this together. We will get to your calls if you want in on the conversation. V8 the Great, I was about to go to you, but then he just dropped off the line. Reminder, we do have an awesome raffle prize this morning on the program. It is a signed helmet by the man, the myth, the legend, Darrelle Revis. Hit the like button if you guys are just tuning in. We're, of course, talking about the state of the Jets. We did play some interesting comments from Rich Eisen about his big take on the Jets' plans for 2027 at quarterback. And he basically said they made the deal with Sauce and Quinnen for the 2027 QB class. Matt and I pushed back on that. But again, the way it's shaking out, if you take a swing this year, that's a minimal risk type of swing, not a 2, but maybe one of the second round picks, you are in position to then do it again with maybe a new coach a year from now, or maybe you get a little lucky, right? The Giants were desperate with Brian Dable and Joe Shane on the hot seat. They made the move for Dart at the end of round 1. Dart played well enough, not to save Dable, but to make the job attractive enough for a guy like John Harbaugh to consider them and ultimately take the job. So maybe if the Jets are bad next year, but they somehow get Ty Simpson or Trinidad Chambliss and they look good, or Garrett Nussmeier looks good, that opens the door for making your job more attractive. And then you don't need to use a first-round pick on a quarterback. You use a first-round pick on building out your team to be a playoff contender going forward.
Yeah, and I know we are spending a lot of time right now talking about the 2027 draft and the quarterbacks in that draft, but it's supposed to be a very deep class even outside of quarterback too. So if you have that answer already figured out, you could just continue to add to this roster. And then hopefully by that point, if they're trying to land a coach in here that's attractive and one that you think would push the needle forward, hopefully you're talking about a team that's by that point, hopefully pushing for a playoff spot.
Veteran Jet fan, as long as we're 10th in rushing, who cares if we have the worst record in the NFL? AG Truthers.
Is that what they ended up finishing with, 10th in rushing?
I think that's where they were.
Okay, fantastic.
0 block field goals, though.
That's good. That's great.
The stuff that matters, folks. The stuff that matters. All right, get to your calls now. Gusbuster Umbrella Hotline. V8, the great's back. He starts it off today. Hello, V8.
What's up, guys? How you guys doing this morning?
V8.
You hear me?
We got you, V8. Yep.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, how you guys doing this morning? You guys good?
Living the dream.
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, that whole Ty Simpson take, I don't know if I agree with it. I think we should get Ruben Bain. And how do you guys feel about Caden McDaniel from Ohio State, the interior defensive lineman?
I don't love taking a DT at 16. I just feel like there's better use of resource than that.
Really?
He's a good player, though.
Uh-oh. V8, we lost you. I don't know. This is just my bias as a football fan. We traded away Quinnen, so we're going to use one of the picks we got in the Sauce and Quinnen deal and just replacing him with a DT.
Yeah, they need one, and if they took one there, I'd get it. But I'm with you. I would be looking at wide receiver, Mekhi Lemon. If Sonny Styles is somehow there at 16, if you want to go back-to-back defense, and it's like Ruben Bain and Sonny Styles, I think I'm a little bit more excited about that. But I don't think that'd be my approach personally.
Comments, questions, super chats. Cut the line. Thank you to Bino for this one. He is sending a super chat of $5. If they're thinking Ty at 16, if that's the route, QB no matter what, then I take Nuss over Ty, not think twice if that's the mindset they have. I don't know if you could justify taking Nussmeier, though, at 16. You could take him with one of your 2 second-round picks if you have that kind of conviction in him, though.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't take Garrett Nussmeier in the first round. I think that's a second-round play, and you'd be foregoing quarterback in round 1, trying to add 2 immediate impact to pieces at 2 and 16, and taking your flyer at 33 or 44. And if that's the route that they go, fine. I'm good with it, especially if they add another veteran quarterback with that, and it doesn't stop them from taking a quarterback in 27 if they need to. I get why people are attracted to that system.
Zach Tendler has gifted a membership. Zach, you're in the raffle for one. You're the first to gift today, so well done. You're the first to get in the Darrell Revis helmet raffle by gifting the community a membership. We're presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Matt, here are the latest lines for Championship Sunday. The line in Denver has moved overnight from 5.5 to 4.5. So that means there's some money coming in on the underdog 1 seed Broncos led by Jared Stidham. We're all rooting for Denver. Your thoughts on how this one plays out?
Yeah, I'm rooting like hell for Denver. I just have a really hard time picking them. I know it's in their own building, but New England doesn't really win on the road there in the playoffs. But I just think, New England, they have the better quarterback. They have a good head coach in Mike Vrabel. I think, unfortunately, we're going to be looking at New England going to a Super Bowl, which is something we're all too familiar with. I also like the Rams as underdogs on the road, too, on the NFC side.
The Rams, I think, are a live dog. They're not a huge underdog by any means, but better coach, better quarterback, you could argue. I know Seattle maybe has the better team. They're at home, but I'm with you. I think we could get that rematch of Rams-Pats from a couple of years ago and that original Super Bowl that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick won together in 2001.
Yeah, there you go. The Rams revenge. Third time around, they finally get it done.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. I'm rooting for Sam, though. I think you and you, me, and many Jet fans all share that love and appreciation for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against Sam Darnold personally. I don't want to see the Jets made a mistake. Like if Sam Darnold is standing there with the Super Bowl trophy, I'd be happy for him, but I would be pushed off the edge with the Jets made the mistake. They let Sam Darnold go. I just can't do these conversations more 5-6 years after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is he went to Carolina and was awful there. And they also had Baker Mayfield in that quarterback room and still sucked. Like no one gets on the Panthers for that. And then the Vikings won 14 games with him and they let him go for nothing so they could play JJ McCarthy, who had a bad rookie season or sophomore year, I guess, technically.
Yeah, and that's the part that frustrates me. Again, I like Sam. I think he handled his exit well. I think he's a really classy guy. And obviously he was put in a really bad situation here with the Jets, but I just don't want to deal with on Super Bowl night it being about the Jets and the LOL Jets thing where, like you said, he went to Carolina, was bad in Carolina after that, and then went to Minnesota. They won 14 games, and then they gave him let him go and turn the keys over to JJ McCarthy, who might actually be worse than Zach Wilson.
Look, it just shows you coaching matters, folks. That's why I'm so steadfast on the Jets not burning an early pick on a quarterback, because while they're better set from a roster standpoint to help Sam, the reality is if your head coach and your offensive staff isn't good enough, that quarterback's still going to struggle and not pan out.
Yeah, no, and it's a very fair concern to have about this quarterback class and taking one with this coach.
Let's get to more of your calls here. If you want in on the conversation, open phone lines. Say hello to Doug on the bed. Hello, Douglas.
Good morning, guys. I'm on the mindset. Mendoza, I don't agree with Rich, with you guys, like you said, Mendoza, if he's there, which isn't going to happen. You take him, you run to the podium. It doesn't even take 1 second. You call him, hey, you're a Jet, boom, it's done. But I think they're going to go with one of Bain, Bailey, or Tate. Actually, Bain, Bailey, or Reese at 3. Okay. And then Tate would be the 4th guy if they choose to go offense. And then at 16, I want best receiver that's on the board of Sonny Styles. I like taking Nussmeier with the second round pick if he's there, and because to me he's kind of like in the Tyler Shuck model. He's had a lot of starts in college. He's had success. He was banged up this past year, but also, not like the other rookies in this class. He feels like a guy you can play, and he won't be totally out of place because of how much starts he's had in college and how much he's played. So, like, whoever they sign as the veteran quarterback, I don't care who it is at this point, but whoever they sign, make sure it's an actual competent NFL quarterback. They trade for Kirk and like the Falcons eat the salary or something, or they do kind of like what the Brock Osweiler deal. We'll eat the salary, but you give us a pick or something like that. And we take Kirk Cousins. And then he starts for like 8 games and then, okay, we're going to go to Nussmeier and we give him the rest of the season. And then you see if he's the guy, kind of like what the Saints had with Shuck. It's like, okay, we feel confident in giving him another year. And if not, boom, you have 3 first-round picks. Coach is gone anyway. The next regime would have the 3 first-round picks, and you'll get the guy you want. So I kind of like taking Nussmeier. I think he has the highest ceiling out of any of those second-round guys because I saw a report that it seems like Chambliss is going to win his lawsuit, so I don't think he's going to be in the draft. So I'm with take him at the second-round pick, and with 33, just take the BPA available at that pick.
I don't hate it. Nussmeier's intriguing. Let's see how he looks. Hopefully he plays well at the Senior Bowl and he's healthy, because that was a big problem for him this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the biggest, I don't know if concern is the right word, but the thing I'm looking at is the health, because it's hard for me to believe that he was just healthy and bad in 2025. I think he was dealing with the injuries, and that played a big factor.
And also, like, people say, oh, the Penn State situation was a disaster. I mean, LSU was a disaster too last year. Like, that's not, I think I know Brian Kelly's had good success with quarterbacks, but Brian Kelly, if you read reports about him, you never see one of his former players say, man, I love that guy. It seems like everyone hated Brian Kelly.
True.
So it seems like a lot of things were in flux at LSU too. So now he's taking the time to get healthy. I mean, there was a reason why he was in these top 10, projected first overall to go to West last year, and all that stuff. So I think that would be the pick with 44. I don't see any other really good quarterbacks. And like I said, if it works out, boom, you find a quarterback. And you said it many times, Jake, always going to find your quarterback with the first overall pick. Like, you can find your quarterbacks like the Cowboys found Dak in the 4th round. Like you can find the quarterbacks anyway, and I think that's the best chance for Glenn to really stay. And then the DC, like I'm with you guys, just give Jim Leonard whatever he wants. Like whatever Brian Flores is making, which is probably gonna be like what I saw Will Parkinson talk about a bit real quickly. Like if Brian Flores is making like $6-7 million, Jim Leonard should be making like $5. Give him whatever he wants. Get an actual DC up and comer. And he's also like, I know a lot of people would feel like, oh, if Glenn gets fired, I feel like the Jets can do similar what the Falcons did with keeping Ulbrich. Like, oh, we're keeping Jim Leonard as the DC, or we really want to keep Jim Leonard as the DC. And then you work around with the coach and see if the coach likes Jim Leonard.
If he does a good enough job, sure. I mean, again, I think if the Jets had fired Glenn this past offseason, Doug, I think Banjo would have been retained by whoever the next head coach was. So you do see that when Rex got the job, he retained Schottenheimer and Westhoff. He only replaced the defensive staff. So it could happen. I just don't think Jim Leonard's going to take the job, though. And we could say, I'll offer him a ton of money, but I don't know what he's going to do that just to get a guy to be the DC for a coach who might only be here for one more year.
I guess, but there's no cap hit with coaches. So, and it's not our money too, though. So who knows? We all know it's going to end up being Wink Martindale because that's the way it is. It's just like not the one we want, but we know that's how it's going to end up because that's just how things have gone the past year.
The white Steve Wilkes, Wink Martindale.
Michigan defense, like when they didn't have 3 first-round picks on their team anymore, the defense wasn't as good last year. It just, it's just so much fun being a Jets fan right now, right, guys?
Gotta love it, Doug.
What else would you rather be a fan of? Like, why would you want to be a fan of the Patriots? Those cheaters and those losers. Most of those fans don't even know what football actually is. They just fall hype on the bandwagon and go like, "Oh, the Patriots are good, yay!" So,
did you make that noise again?
Yay,
Doug. Thank you. Gator, you're welcome. That will be a good drop.
Great.
Thank you, Doug. Great call. Matt L with a super chat. He says, "How do you feel about Bobby?" I don't know how to say the guy's. He's the Bills DC under McDermott. Is it Babbage,
I think,
or Babbage? Bobby Babbage for DC. I would need to know more about how responsible he was for their defense, because obviously McDermott is the defensive guy overseeing it all as the head coach there. So I'd want to know a little more, but I mean, he's an intriguing candidate. He knows the division. I'd at least interview him if you get a good review on him.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, he was there the entire time with McDermott. He was only the DC the last 2 years, but, he was a safeties coach and then a linebackers coach. So, he's coached multiple different positions there. I think it'd be an intriguing option, right? Like, although who knows, maybe he's one of the guys that turned down the Jets.
Hit the like button, comments, questions, super chats. They will cut the line. Jet fans, who's the next DC for the New York Jets? Make your pick in the chat. Jack writes in, would Martindale be a nightmare hire in your guys' opinion? I think it'd be an underwhelming hire. I think he's a little better than Wilkes, but again, if you look at the recent track record for Wink, it's not great. And I think all you need to know about Wink, who else is interviewing him for the job? Like, is he getting any other DC interviews?
No, it's the same thing like last year when the Jets interviewed, Rex Ryan. They were the only team who offered Rex Ryan a head coaching interview. So I personally would not be a fan. I talked about it earlier. I think his scheme is a little dated, similarly to Steve Wilkes. And then also you had on top of that, the big ego and, fighting with Brian Dable at the end. Like, I just don't want that kind of instability brought in here to the New York Jets. They already have enough of that.
Yeah. It just, again, if you hire Wink Martindale, what's the upside? Like, I feel like Aaron Glenn should go down swinging on like an up and coming guy who might be great. And you might get him early before the rest of the league knows he's really good. Like that, like Chris Banjo is the best example of that. That was his best hire. I'm not saying that the DC you hire is going to be the next Banjo, because Banjo, I think, is proven to be one of the best special teams coordinators in the league after a year. He's phenomenal. So, but that approach should be the one they take here, because if you can't get the top guys reportedly to even interview for the job, according to Connor Hughes and Zach Rosenblatt, then find the guy who's the guy before everyone knows he's the guy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right. I agree with you. At least take a swing on someone who you could say maybe there's upside with. You already know what Wink Martindale is. And, like we said, it didn't end well. The last year in Baltimore wasn't very good. He was good before that, but, they moved on from him. And then the 2 years with the Giants didn't go well. He wasn't a great stint at Michigan. So, if we're going to bank on something he did, pre-COVID, I don't think that's really a wise way to go about hiring.
Joey R says he's got a crazy idea that could save AG and co. Trade the 2026 pick number 2 and pick 33. 27 picks, first and second round, to Las Vegas for Mendoza, since all Woody wants is to fill seats, and we just might make the playoffs because he's a winner. What do you think? Joey, this would be, to me, insane to trade this level of capital to move up one spot for a quarterback who I think is a really good draft prospect, but you have no idea. And again, the coaching staff is an abomination, in my opinion, right now. So to trade all this and hope that they could coach up Fernando Mendoza feels like a major risk that if I'm Woody, I would not let this regime do that. I just think that you just burnt all your resources to take a swing on a guy who's very good, but you're not necessarily equipped to see success with him right away. And then you're going to need the next coach with less resources to come in and fix him. I don't like it at all.
And then what do you do if you draft Fernando Mendoza and then you're like, all right, we got to fire Aaron Glenn, but bad news, we have 0 first or second round picks in 2027. Who's taking the job?
I mean, you just wiped out all your resources. I mean, you still would have the first this year at 16. You still would have 2 of your ones, I guess, next year. But I don't know, man. To move up one spot when you're this iffy on the head coach, I think that'd be a huge mistake.
Yeah, maybe I'm reading the chat wrong, but he says 27 picks rounds 1 and 2. I was assuming he was giving up 4 first round picks to go.
Oh, well then, yeah, forget it then. Forget it. I can't even justify any of it then.
Yeah, right. If it was 1 and you're only giving up 2 first rounders, it's a little bit different, but I don't think the Raiders would do it for that. I would just think they would say, all right, we're going to take the quarterback. But if I'm not trading, and I like Fernando Mendoza a lot, I really do, but I'm not taking the gamble for 4 first rounders.
I agree. Again, that's to move up one spot. You can't do it. All right, last chance to get on the phone line with Matt. We'll go to Leader of Jets, who's next on the show today. Hello, Leader of Jets.
Hey, morning. Thank you for having me. I've messaged you a few times on Twitter. Why are you so against Ty Simpson at 2? It's literally the most logical pick because, 1, it doesn't require us to give up any of our future picks. Because what I always hear is, oh, we're going to move up in 2027. So we won't have to move up. Ty Simpson was a consensus top 5 pick pretty much the whole year. He's a 5-star recruit out of Alabama. You could talk about the lack of starts, but I don't think the Jets have any sort of luxury, especially Muji or Glenn, to wait. Why is that not the consensus pick?
Well, a couple things. I don't really care if they don't have the chance to wait because I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about what's in the best interest of the Jet franchise. You could say, oh, he was a top 5 pick at the beginning of the year, but we can't ignore how the rest of the year went. And also, you bring up the lack of starts. That's a huge data point here. Again, I'll put it up on the screen for people. Ty Simpson has made 15 career starts. Look at the names of quarterbacks over the last 15 years who entered the NFL with 20 or fewer career starts. They got drafted in round 1. It's a bad list, and the Jets are not equipped right now to take a quarterback second overall that would be this level of a project. It'd be like drafting Mitch Trubisky. It'd be like drafting Dwayne Haskins, or it'd be like drafting Anthony Richardson. And I don't think Ty Simpson has shown me enough where I want to use pick 2 on him. I'll listen to the argument at pick 16 if you really like him, because I know people do like him. Like Joe Blewett thinks highly of him. But I think at 2, that's a huge reach, Michael. I mean, that's an investment where you take a guy second overall and it doesn't go well in year 1, and you have a new coaching staff coming in. Are they going to be attached to Ty Simpson? They might just want to move on. And then at that point, you spent $60 million on a number 2 pick after you went 3-14. You got nothing to show for how bad your season was.
But all those players were taken before 16. I'm with you with the starts. The potential is there. Have you ever seen a team who, Muji and Glenn, this is year 2. They have pick number 2. This is where quarterbacks go. How could they validate essentially tanking another year? They're taking a quarterback at 2. If the Jets don't take Ty Simpson, the Cardinals are going to take him. The Browns.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Why would they pass on them? They let Tua walk. They let Kyler walk. How would it?
Michael, look what happened last year, though. The Giants were in the same spot the Jets are in, right? Coaching staff on the hot seat, needed a quarterback. Did they take Jackson Dart at pick number 3? No, they took Abdul Carter because he was considered the best prospect. And then they went out there and they traded back into round 1. and got their quarterback. Who's to say the Jets don't take Ty at 16 or they trade back into round 1 or use pick 33 or pick 44 on a quarterback? Maybe it's not Ty. Maybe it's Trinidad Chambliss. Maybe it's Garrett Nussmeier if he plays great at the Senior Bowl and looks like a guy who a year ago was thought to be a top 10 pick. Well, Ty Simpson's not a draft prospect that would ever go number 2. He's not thought of that way by NFL evaluators.
He certainly is. The entire year he was regarded.
He's not.
That. And
who has him going number 2?
McShay had him top 5 the entire year.
McShay does not have him going number 2.
Orlovsky had him top 5.
Orlovsky has changed his opinion on all these guys a million different times.
So does any sort of mock.
He doesn't
draft.
have him at number 2, though. No one is saying Ty Simpson should go 2nd overall in the draft.
No, Kuiper had him at 16 yesterday.
Right. Exactly my point.
So would this be the only quarterback ever that's moved up in the draft? Like, is this just like an unheard of thing? Jackson Dart was not regarded as a first-round pick, and Ty Simpson is far more talented or regarded.
Jackson Dart started 35-plus games in college. It's not the same thing. Simpson's got 15
So should we
starts.
take Carson Beckett too? You know, Carson Beck is slated to go 3rd overall to the Cardinals. He's the favorite.
No, he's not. No, he's not. That was
he's
fake.
The favorite on. Is it
that
fake?
Was fake. That was you just got ball sack sports by. I saw that tweet yesterday. Come on.
Polymarket. I saw it.
He's not going 3rd overall, Michael.
I agree that I don't think that he's going to go 3rd overall. But why? If you can sell me on this idea that Aaron Glenn and Muji, whatever you think of Ty Simpson, how can they validate passing on a quarterback? That would be 2 years of tanking in a row. When you have the second
They're
pick,
not
no
tanking
logic.
if they don't take Ty Simpson at number 2. There's other avenues to get a quarterback.
Such as
16, 33, 44, and who knows what the room looks like before we even get to the draft. How do we know they don't make a big swing in free agency?
Ty Simpson is not going to be. Why are the Cardinals passing on a quarterback?
Michael, so maybe they move up. The Cardinals wouldn't take him 3rd overall.
Why would they move up? That's a waste of assets. They have the second pick.
Because why'd the Giants move up for Dart?
Because they moved from the 2nd round pick to
why'd the Ravens move up for Lamar?
That's moving up a couple of picks from the 5th or to the 2nd to the 1st, so they can have an extra year of eligibility on his contract. That's a completely different concept.
Michael, Jackson Dart is the same exact thing we're discussing here. Is it not? How is it any different? They traded in to get him. Why can't the Jets do the same thing or take him at 16?
I think the situations are very different. Daboll is now gone. Different? The coaching, the structure, the GM.
What do you mean? But Aaron Glenn is on the hot seat. Agree? Yes or no?
I don't think it's the hot seat, like literally, like 1 year. Like I think you're you're incredibly unfair, and you're going to say something along the lines of, "What does Aaron Glenn do well as a coach?" But a first-year head coach without a
I'm not asking you about what he does well as a head coach. I'm asking you, is Aaron Glenn on the hot seat? Yes or no?
I would say no, but I think the consent.
I would say you're gone. I'm not listening to bullshit if you can't even answer a simple yes or no question. Goodbye. So long. Good Lord, man. He's obviously on the hot seat. So he needs to win games. So what will help Aaron Glenn win more games? Reaching on Ty Simpson at 2 or taking Reuben Bain or Cornell Tate or Jordan Tyson, someone that could help him win football games? The Giants, their head coach, Brian Daboll, was on the hot seat. Did they take Dart in the top 3? No, they took a great prospect and then made the move to get their quarterback. They moved up to, I think it was 26 to get Dart. The Jets could do the same thing from 16 and move up if they have conviction on Ty. Or maybe they don't even like Ty Simpson. They like a different quarterback. And by the time we get to the draft, how do we know they don't have Kyler Murray or they don't have a different veteran that they invested in and that's going to be their guy? How does Ty Simpson help Aaron Glenn? That was the dumbest call I will take in a very long time. Thank you, Michael, for that one. Matt, your thoughts?
So Kenny Pickett was the first quarterback taken in 2022 with the 20th pick. Why didn't I insert any team with major question marks at the starting quarterback position? Why didn't he go earlier? Because he was evaluated and figured out that he was going to be a late first round pick. I don't. So the top 3 of the draft is going to be Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, and Carson Beck. Should all the top 15 picks be quarterbacks then? I don't get it.
Carson Beck going number 3. What are you talking about, dude? That wasn't real. He's not going 3rd overall to the Cardinals. Again, here's why I don't want Ty Simpson. 1, he didn't play that well for most of the year after a great start. And 2, the overwhelming data size tells me that it is a huge risk to take Ty Simpson, who has 15 career starts, in the first round of the draft, and he wants to take him at 2. Again, some of these names on here were not picked even second overall. He wants to take Ty Simpson at 2. Again, look at your screen, everyone. Here are the first-round QBs over the past 15 years who entered the NFL with 20 or fewer starts. Other than Cam, can we say any of these guys were a home run selection for their respective teams? It's a huge risk.
It is a big risk, and that's why he's not going to be in the number 2 pick. You can go at 16. I think the range is probably 16 to 21 for Ty Simpson.
And maybe if he kills it at the combine and teams fall in love with him, he can go a little higher than that. But right now, there's no scenario where Ty Simpson is second overall to the Jets. If that happens, then Woody Johnson needs to step in before that happens and not let it happen, because that's such a bad use of asset management.
That was a shocking one, Jake. There's been a lot of shocking ones, but that was towards the top of ones that I've seen on here.
And then, was he trying to defend Glenn at the end there? It has nothing to do with Aaron Glenn. They're not tanking if they don't take Ty Simpson. It actually would be the opposite. They're trying to win games and improve the roster. Ty Simpson, who everyone agrees needs to sit, is not helping Aaron Glenn win games and save his job in 2026.
I don't get it. I'm sorry. I don't get it, dude.
Jet wants to know, is Michael on crack? He's actually in the private chat. Goes, do you want to wager he'll be the second pick? Sure, Michael. We could wager. All right. What would you like the bet to be? I'll buy you tickets for Jets opening day if the Jets take Ty Simpson second overall. But if he doesn't go second overall, you got to gift 20 memberships to the community. All right, which is the equivalent of $100. All right, so I'm getting the short end of the stick there.
I think it's a fair trade.
You let me know. He goes, I'm in Florida. How about a Ty Simpson jersey? Deal. All right, leader of Jets. I'll get you a Ty Simpson Jets jersey. You know what? He's still on hold. Let me bring him on. Head shake. Shake it, Michael.
Shake.
You got a deal.
Shake. I'm telling you, if you just think they're not going to waste assets when they can just take him at 2. And if you don't have a quarterback on the roster.
Now look what you've done. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it.
Man, I can't. They're not wasting assets because the cost of moving up from 16 to go up a couple spots is a lot different than investing the second overall pick in a quarterback with 15 career starts who struggled down the stretch at Alabama.
I would be very surprised if he goes number 2 overall. Count me surprised. It'd be an interesting reaction on draft night, though. I think you get good reactions from Jet fans on here.
I'll tell you what, the Jet Ty Simpson jersey going to leader of the Jets if they take him number 2. My God, we're going to be disgusted if they take him that high on draft night.
I would not be happy. I wouldn't be happy.
Oh man! All right, Matt. What a way to end the show with you. I'll stay on for the rest of the calls, but appreciate you coming on as always, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jake. Catch you soon.
Matt O'Leary with us. I'll join him later today with Richie on our AFC East Jets Roundtable show. So check that out, Jet fans. We go live at 3:00. Bino says he was definitely sliding into Truth or Talk. You know, leader of Jets is an Aaron Glenn bootlicker. You just know. Tank for Ty says, can you overdraft the franchise QB? I know you love Ty. Tank for Ty. I think Ty Simpson is too big of a risk for the Jets given their current situation. Joey clarifies his super chat from earlier. Jake and Matt, I meant was trading to Las Vegas 2 1s and 2 2s, so 4 picks in total for Mendoza. We'd still have our 2025 number 16 and 44 and 2 2027 first round picks. Now that is a little more reasonable. I still lean against doing that, Joey. I do, because I think the Jets are going to be bad this year, even if they had Mendoza. And I'd rather just get the coach and quarterback on the same timeline a year from now and not hope that Mendoza shows enough to still make the job attractive for the next coach. You know, like the Giants got lucky that Dart was ahead of schedule and played as well as he did despite the environment being bad and the team losing games and the coach being fired. You know, because it could have went where he played awful and then John Harbaugh's like, I'm not taking that job. I don't believe in Jackson Dart. The Jet situation would be just our luck. Mendoza wouldn't look good, and then like Mike Tomlin's not going to take the Jet job. We'll go somewhere else with a more established quarterback. But if you have the number one pick and you're marching for Arch or Julian Sayin or whoever the top quarterback is, well, then I think you're in better position to attract a big name coach. Eli checks in. Shot in the dark. Any chance you could talk to the Jets staff that will be at the Senior Bowl? Maybe they can give you some insight on some players. Absolutely. The Jets do have 2 assistant coaches that will be on the Senior Bowl staff, so we are working on it. Tanzel Smart, by the way, former Jet. He's one of the assistant coaches at the Senior Bowl, too, so we are going to try and get him on the show. Maybe we'll give him a Carcucci board. Shout out to everyone who watched Hard Knocks that season. All right, more of your calls right now. Let's say hello to Barbarossa, who's next. What's up, Barbarossa?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah, so that last call was pretty wild. But I just wanted to just kind of continuing with what he was saying. But how many of the coaches that got fired this year would you consider better than Aaron Glenn? I would consider all of the coaches that got fired better than Aaron Glenn, and we're going to keep him. And I feel like if you quarterback like Simpson, that would just not make any sense because he's not going to help Glenn keep his job. And then if Glenn gets fired the next year, during the year, the end of the year, we have a quarterback on the team, like you said, that a coach might not want. And that just puts us in a terrible spot. And I just think that Bain, Reese, or Tate would also just be a better pick to help Glenn keep his job. They can make an impact right away. Here's a book. It's not even a football book, but Michael, just read a book. This is what they look like. Please do that. Thank you. And I also, if anyone wants to take a bet on whether or not he Spencer Green's this bet, I'll take that. I wonder what the line is on that, but I'll take that. But take care, you guys. Have a good day, and peace out.
Barbarossa, excellent call by you, man. Cheers. What a show this has been, huh? We still got a raffle. Now, we only have 1 gifted membership here. If we don't get 19, that's usually my threshold. If we get 20, I'll delay the raffle to this afternoon for the Revis helmet, when we hopefully have more people entered to win. Remember, when you enter the helmet raffle for Revis, you also are automatically qualified for the weekly series for Joe Namath signed helmet this week and a Curtis Martin signed helmet. Love Barbarossa calling in from the classroom, by the way. That man is an educator, damn it. I got some breaking news that last caller, Michael, I'm sure, definitely believes is real and is not a parody account. Ladies and gentlemen, hit it.
Breaking sports news on the Jake Asman Show.
Richard Johnson, who's obviously a real reporter, says the Jets are expected to, quote, check in on Bills quarterback Josh Allen this offseason. Allen was eliminated, I can't even say this with a straight face. Allen was eliminated early from the playoffs again this year, and now he might prefer to rebuild with a different team. This is where our last caller, Michael, gets his news. From Rich, a.k.a. Richard Johnson. Got that blue check mark, though, that he paid for, so he must be real. When Dick Johnson puts out NFL news, you know it's legitimate. I think Richard Johnson's trying to be the Wes Steinberg, the Giants parody beat reporter that always fools people. I ask you, who's the next insider? Phil McCracken? Sham. Thanks, Dick Johnson. Roster Dread is in the raffle for one. Thank you, Roster. Common Country says Michael is Renzel's cousin. Wrong Verb says, can we trade for Haley Steinfeld? I would take her. Look, when Dick Johnson reports it, it must be true. NY don't tell NB in the house. If Glenn drafts Bain, just like the Giants getting Ruben, either way, Glenn will be fired if they lose, just like Dable. We fill holes every year and suck. Well, that's because the coach and the quarterback are never good enough at the same time. That's ultimately the problem. I think you could argue the Jets, for most of their games this year, employed the worst coach-quarterback combination in the league. That's how bad Glenn was, and that's how awful Fields was. So that's where it starts. Now, you had a call from Barbarossa where he said, would Glenn be better than any of the coaches who were fired? I think the only one you could argue he'd be better than right now would be Pete Carroll, and that's simply because as the game just passed Pete Carroll by. Right? But of the other coaches, he's not better than McDermott. He might be better than Brian Callahan. He got fired a while ago. He's not better than Dable. Dable, at least, had an expertise on a side of the ball and made the playoffs and won a playoff game. You can't say he's better than Stefanski. He's obviously not better than Harbaugh. You can't say he's better than McDaniel, who made the playoffs 3 times in Miami. You can't say he's better than no one got fired in the NFC North. He's not better than Raheem Morris. He's not better than, well, I don't know. Jonathan Gannon's not great, but I think Gannon would still be better than Glenn. At least Gannon calls defense, is an expert on that side of the ball. Yeah, I mean, those are all the openings. Am I missing one? We had 10. I think I covered them. Joey says, Jake, what offensive coach do you think would want the Jets job when AG and Co get fired? I think Kevin O'Connell would be interested. Former Jet. Has a good relationship with ownership from what I've been told. I think he'd be interested if he got fired. What other offensive coaches? I mean, who could be fired? I mean, Shane Steichen, I think, could be gone if the Colts don't figure it out a year from now. Would Jet fans be intrigued by him? I think I would. Steichen should have made the playoffs with Gardner Minshew as his quarterback, right? Remember they had that drop in the last game of the season, that Saturday night game? I was still living in Houston at the time. It was winning, you're in. And the Texans won it and they made the playoffs. But that to me could be a potential name to watch. I'd give Steichen a second chance. Anthony Richardson's terrible, but the guy could scheme an offense. Made Daniel Jones look great this year till he busted his Achilles. Robert C. says, Josh Allen to the Jets is not happening. I don't know, Robert. Richard Johnson's reporting it. It must be true. Jerome wants to know, is Dick Johnson related to Miles Long? I think the chat would have some fun with good old Dick Johnson's reporting. Who's never wrong, by the way. I mean, the guy is the gold standard when it comes to reporting. Speaking of gold standards, ladies and gentlemen, it's time.
Stringing the cheese. Josh Allen to the Jets? What? Are you kidding me? Yo, I don't get it. This is weird. Boy, what a weird world we're living in. Wow. I just played Price is Right Bingo to warp my mind into something, and now I got to hear this? Wow. Did I just go from one warp zone to another? Holy shit, Aroni. Wow. What's next? Boy, what are we going to see next? Drake May going to the Chargers? We're going to see other teams going to jump into weird teams that we've never seen in a long, long time. What's next? You know what? Mr. Ed said it best. Oh, boy, what are they going to think of next? Well, I'll still tell you this. There's no way Tua's coming here. You can forget that because he can't handle the cold. There's no way that Geno Smith's coming there. You can forget that little nonsense. Ty Simpson, I don't know about that, Jack. No way. If anything, it's going to come down to 2. And I'm going to say 2. It's either going to be Batman Bane or Mendoza.
Batman Bane.
Yeah, Batman Bane. Hey, you
Woo!
named
Ka-ching!
You named it. So, hey. Hey, you see? Hey, what you see? What you get?
Woo! Ka-ching!
And we're in for freeze warnings this week. I'm like, I ain't going nowhere. Nope, not this time. And them drafts, let's just hope we get one of them. If we get Batman Bane, fine. If we get Mendoza, okay, there you go. But I think Mendoza is going to be one of the top picks we're going to get because I just had this feeling. I mean, come on. Last year, did I predict we would get Membu at number 6 or 7? Did I predict that? You remember that?
I don't.
I told you we were gonna get either the other guy or we're gonna get Membu. We got
Who's the other guy?
I can't think of the guy's name. Charles Gorman brought him up last year. I can't think of the damn guy's name. It'll come back to me. I gotta rewatch one of the shows. But it's just I'm not seeing it. And
sexy.
You're right about one thing. We gotta win at least 9-10 games if he wants to keep his job. But if he doesn't get past 6, 7, or 8, you're fired. Good night. Good night. Cha-ching. But
rejected. Sorry.
Very well said, Beast. Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. Hit the like button if you haven't. Raffle for a Darrelle Revis sign helmet up for grabs today. Long Island Jet fan in the raffle with 2 more entries. Hey, Jake, love the show. Been a fan for a while. Well, thank you, Long Island Jet fan. As a fellow Long Island Jet fan here, I appreciate you. I wanted your take on this. Is there a world where next year the Jets hire Mike McDaniel? If Herbert looks better working with him, I would look into it. So he's going to get a second chance to be a head coach. He's one of the best offensive guys out there. The way Mike McDaniel designs a run game is among the best in the league, if not the best, they say. So the Chargers will be humming offensively now. It was a great hire by Harbaugh. Assuming McDaniel doesn't get a head coaching job now, which he still might. I mean, if I'm the Raiders, wouldn't that make sense to get Mendoza on the right track? Just throwing that out there. But here's the issue with McDaniel. Who's his best friend? His best friend is Robert Saleh. Is Mike McDaniel, knowing all the details of the Johnson family and what it was like working for them, is he going to take a job working for Woody? I don't know. I doubt it. Maybe I'm dead wrong. Maybe the Jet job is appealing and they give him power and he's all about it. My feel for how it ended with Saleh, I don't think Mike McDaniel would ever take a Jet job. Certainly not as their OC, and I doubt he'd be their head coach. So that's kind of my read on it. All right, home stretch of the show coming up. A lot of you want in on the conversation, which is fantastic. We're going to take a short commercial break, and on the other side, we get to your calls to wrap this baby up. More coming up. Jake Asman with you right here on a Thursday where we're talking all things New York Jets. Is there any truth to the rumor you're having Knoble on your show?
Maybe.
Who the fuck do you think you are, Charles? I'm the Canobly, and I'm playing for the Jets next year. You better get used to it, motherfucker, because I'm coming to get you.
Did you see the interview we did with Knoble yesterday when he called in?
No, I did not.
I'm just kidding, Charles. I love you, man. You're the greatest. I just want to be your friend, okay? So, please do my friend. Motherfucker!
All right. Charles, thank you for the time today. Last night on a radio station in this town known as The Fan, WFAN, Keith McPherson took a call from Bobby Midnight, who wanted to ask some questions about Knoble.
All right, let's go back to Bob in Vermont.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think the Jets and Giants will do on the draft, your choices? And also, do you ever hear of a player from college called Knoble?
Knobu? From what school?
College.
Yeah, but what college?
It's just college. Do you ever hear that guy's name?
No, I've never heard of Knobu from college. Knobo from college? What position does he play?
He plays offense and defense.
He plays offense and defense? He's a two-way guy?
Yep, that's what he said.
How do you spell the last name?
Knoble. I can't remember how you spell it. It starts with K, I know that.
Okay, because I'm spelling it wrong on Google.
No, Knoble.
Thanks for the call, Bob. I do not know who Knobo is. Maybe somebody listening knows of a player, a two-way player coming out of college that gives you like 300 options. Look at Zoo. He's just laughing. I'm trying to find out. A two-way player plays offense and defense. Knobo is coming.
Oh, yeah. Who's this year's Knoble? Many people want to know. I don't know if we know. I do know this. Up next is this man.
Good morning, Jake.
Hello, Kyle.
So much of our focus has been on the draft because, we saw the college championship and we saw how Mendoza acquitted himself, and, we were wondering if we were going to be able to get up and go to quarterback, and now that's all been kind of laid clear to us, and we kind of know it's a discussion about who to take it to. So I kind of want to turn my attention to free agency for a second. I've heard some names kind of thrown about that to me don't make as much sense. Like, I think Cam Curl is a great young player, but if we just drafted a guy who flashed a little bit, strong safety, like, are they really going to invest that money in a strong safety in the free agency market? I know
Moore was a 4th-round pick, though, so it's not, that's not a huge investment. That's a day 3 pick.
But like, if the guy is flashing a little bit, continue to let him develop. But that try and fill in the pieces around him where we really have like free safety would be more of a need to me. Linebacker would be more of a need to me.
Sure, but safety's a big need, though. I'm not as high on Malachi Moore as some are. I think he took bad angles a lot of times. I don't think he was the best of the day 3 picks almost by default because they burnt the pick on Barron. They got very little from Alagoa. They got nothing from Arian Smith, who was a disaster pick at the time. And then Aaron Glenn, another thing that aged horrifically was this.
I just feel like it seemed like Arian Smith was making some plays today and getting open. Like, how happy are you with his progress?
The guy that can't catch? What you guys say?
The guy that was a healthy scratch, Aaron, because you couldn't play him. The guy that Isaiah Williams beat out, and then you had to add Mechie and you had to add Mitchell midway through the year because Arian Smith was unplayable. So, he was almost Malachi Moore was almost the best day 3 pick by default.
Right, and I don't want people to think I'm a downer because I've been so down on Glenn. Like, I want to acknowledge that, some of these guys on day 3 have flashed. Like, Malagoa flashed a little bit. He got hurt. But we didn't get anything from Arian Smith or Barron. So, like, I think that, we should be thinking about what could be, and this is all, risk averse. It goes to free agency as much as it goes to the draft. Bring in somebody that, like, you could plug in. If you feel like Simpson is taking a step backward and you've gotten the best football you're going to get out of him from that he's played with the Ravens and the Jets, it's time to move on and plug in another player like him on a 2-year deal. Or go get a young linebacker to kind of replace some of the guys that we know are going out the door, because we are going to have openings there. You had mentioned JFM. Like, I think that Douglas was trying to move on from him probably a year too early, and it ends up it was 2 years too early, right? But I don't see re-signing him as like the answer, right? Like, he's starting to get up there a little bit. I loved him as a player when he was here. I love the versatility. I loved what he brought to a D line. I'm just worried that he's another guy. Like, you don't want to lay out that money for guys where the best football is behind them. That's why you've got to really be looking for depth in free agency, and not making a splash across the board, but picking your spots to say this guy is a bargain and this guy can come in and help us right away. And I'm open to any names like that would be mid-20s that can come in and help, specifically on the defense or on the interior offensive line. It's just that they don't jump out at me at this very moment. Do you have any ideas about who those players might be.
Well, I don't know what kind of money JFM is looking for. I'm still intrigued by him. He's only 29. He could play in the interior. He could play on the outside. I'm trying to look at some of the free agents here that would intrigue me. Maybe Daquan Jones from Buffalo, if you're trying to sign another interior guy. Pass rusher wise,
it's from hunger, right? There's no edges out there.
Yeah, I mean, you want Hassan Reddick back? He's one of the first names I'm seeing here.
It can't go any worse.
Boy Mafa from Seattle. We'll watch him this weekend, right? I think he's still out there doing his thing. Yeah, I mean, the best edge rusher is Trey Hendrickson. The best interior D-line is either Jones or the guy in Atlanta, David Oyemata. DJ Reader is a free agent. He was with Glenn in Detroit. That's a name to possibly watch.
And he might be a guy that we might be looking to pair up with Briggs, right? Because he's a little heavier.
He's a veteran too. He's been around a while.
Yeah. All right. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to kind of turn our focus for a second to free agency because it is going to be upon us imminently within the next 5 weeks or so.
That's right. Kyle, great call. We'll do more free agency stuff as we get closer, obviously, post Senior Bowl. And, the free agency happens after the combine, right? A lot of the free agency conversations with agents and teams, you're not supposed to, but we all know what happens. They happen at the combine. You get a feel. Like I knew, and I said it on the show, you could go back and check. I left Indy thinking the Jets were going to sign Justin Fields. Like that was like the worst kept secret from being at the combine all week, talking with people. It's like, oh, what are the Jets going to do? Oh, it sounds like they're going to sign Fields. They really want him. And we relayed that on the show all week. Ladies and gentlemen, 5 gifted memberships from Darth Crypto. We're up to 7. Crypto in the raffle. 4, 5.
I hug him every day. I hug him every day.
Thank you, Crypto. All right, we're going to get to more of your calls. Let me get caught up on the super chat here. This one is from Eli Alonso. He says, I want the helmet. Well, Eli, you just purchased 2 raffle tickets. Thank you, Eli. This guy, Ja, who's a Glenn bootlicker, he hates on the show more than anyone, and he comments every day, but he watches every day. So it's quite the conundrum for this guy must go through. All the stuff about Glenn and Muji not guaranteed 2027. They have 5-year deals. Just because Jake thinks you should sour on big hires after 10 minutes, good businesses don't operate like that. Oh, yeah? Now talk to me about the Patriots. Are they a good business? Do they sour on Gerard Mayo after a year? Oh, yeah, talk to me about the Broncos. Do they sour on Hackett not even after a year and then hired Sean Payton? Talk to me about those businesses, asshole. Again, you want to be all condescending, but you could play that game. Good businesses don't operate that way. Good businesses don't hire inept head coaches and employ them if they can't do the job. They're not guaranteed 2027. Oh, they have 5-year deals. So what? Did Woody Johnson not fire John Izek after 2 seasons? He had a 5-year deal too. What does it matter? It doesn't affect your cap. Woody Johnson just purchased a soccer team for $254 million. A part of a soccer team. He has money. Good businesses don't keep bad people at their jobs because, it's early. If you know, you know. How could you sit here and say that me souring on Glenn is after 10 minutes? I soured on Glenn because I watched 17 games of inept football. Did they have an interception this year? Were they not one of the worst teams of the modern era? They were the 3rd worst team by offensive and defensive DVOA since 1978. Their special teams won them 2 of their 3 games this year. They were a 1-win team. Brian Callahan had a 5-year contract too. Veteran Jet fan. Brings that one up, and he's spot on. Again, this guy is the biggest Glenn Schill ever. Ever. He's in my comment section. I see he's always in the comment section for Beningo's podcast. The worst. Cannot stand this guy. The worst. But hey, I'm sure you're thrilled that the Jets didn't have a field goal blocked all year. That fires you up. I mean, look at the one-and-done coaches around the league. Should the Texans have stuck with Lovie Smith another year and not hired DeMeco Ryans? I mean, surely the Jaguars should have stuck with Urban Meyer, right? They shouldn't have hired Doug Peterson, who immediately went to the playoffs in year one. Yeah, the Browns should have gave Freddie Kitchens more time. They shouldn't have hired Kevin Stefanski. That would have been dumb. The Cardinals should have gave Steve Wilkes more time and not hired Cliff, who made the playoffs in his tenure in Arizona. The Niners should have gave Chip Kelly more than a year and not hired Kyle Shanahan, right? Again, don't act like the Jets wouldn't have been justified moving on from Glenn. He was dog crap. We could all be honest about that. We hope he improves. We don't need to pretend like what we saw was normal.
The field goal team. Last year we had 3 blocks. This year, we had no blocks.
More calls right now. God, I wish that the Patriots, by the way, listened to what, Ja in the chat wanted them to do. I wish Gerard Mayo was still coaching them. Imagine we had Mayo in the division, no McDermott, and no McDaniel. We'd have the 4 worst coaches in football all in the same division potentially. Wouldn't that be something? Jason in Jerusalem is next. Hello, Jason.
Listen, I actually hear the point from the previous caller. I mean, the Browns were really bad under Hugh Jackman, and they stuck with him. And I guess that was a really bad comment by
the best Hugh Jackson thing is they go 0-16. He's like, we're never going 0-16 again, and then they go 1-15 the next year, and he kept his job. He got a 3rd year.
Yeah, that's why I always love when people said statistics. They're like, but if you look at that, good teams stay with their coaches. Like Detroit kept Wayne Fontes forever and stuck with him. When you realize the guy's not working, you move on from him. It's such a crap when people say, the Browns have had this many head coaches and the Steelers have had this many head coaches. You don't just.
Oh, by the way, I got it wrong actually. So Hugh Jackson went 1-15 in 2016. He came out and said,
then 0-16.
Yeah, he came out and said we're not going 1-15 next year. I guarantee you that. And then they went 0-16. They were worse. You imagine Woody Johnson stuck with Aaron Glenn after he went 1-15 and then went 0-16. Could you imagine that coach getting a 3rd year? Oh my God.
Sadly, I can, the way that Woody's been with Glenn. And I'd rather not picture it, but unfortunately, he's not trending in a good direction. Anyway, remember the crank caller that used to call up FAN and ask all these Jason Giambi questions? Sadly, I think he might actually be the best QB option that we have out there, considering how awful every option is.
Which guy is this?
Malik Willis is not. You don't remember a guy used to call up and say, "Hey, what do you think about Jason Giambi becoming the head coach of the Nets?" I'll hang up and listen. So, consider the other options that we have. I'll take him over Brady Cook and Bailey Zappi. The guy's not far off.
What's Giambi up
Malik
to these
Willis?
days?
Yeah, isn't he a bench coach or something? Or that those days have passed him?
I don't think he's in baseball.
The idea of, I would love Malik Willis to get a flyer on him, but when you have a guy like what's his name, Halfley, who left the Packers to go to Green Bay, who's the head coach of the Miami now?
Yeah,
I the Packers to go to Miami.
And their GM, too. So I think Malik Willis ends up in Miami. If he doesn't, that to me would be a bit of a red flag about Malik Willis, that the assistant GM and the DC who had to face him in practice every day, and Miami clearly needs a quarterback. If they're just not interested, wouldn't that tell you that maybe he's not that good? He's a product of Matt LaFleur more than anything else?
Yeah, but even more so, I would assume they would hire an OC that would somewhat mimic what they had in Green Bay. LaFleur is a good OC. Wouldn't you want to hire an OC along that tree or something like that? They have the connections.
Agreed. I would think they would want to bring in someone that could run the same offense if that's what Halfley wants.
But I like the idea of Nussmeier. We'll see what happens in free agency. If they get Tanner McGee, that would be ideal. I don't see anybody else even close on par with Tanner McGee, which really says something of what we have to work with. If they, if they sign Tua, it'll be, instead of tank for Tua, it'll be tank with Tua. Because there's no way that he performs in the cold, because he never has. And just Kyler would just be cap hell. unless they can get him after being cut. But we know that Glenn doesn't like Kyler. So what are our options here?
They're not great. I mean, you trade for Mac Jones. You could make a run at Malik Willis. I don't know why Tanner McKee keeps getting mentioned. I've seen nothing from him. He played at the end of the year. I watched the game because everyone's like, Tanner McKee. He did nothing. He was a 6th-round pick out of Stanford. I don't see the appeal. I'm not trading anything of significance for him. I mean, you could bring in Kyler. You could bring in Cousins maybe if he's available. The options are not great. So Glenn, if he wants to save his job, he's got to prove he can coach and elevate guys. Right? How did Saleh somehow win 7 games with Zach Wilson as his quarterback 2 years in a row? That's what Glenn's going to have to do if he's going to get a 3rd year. All right, last chance to get in the raffle. We're at 7 gifted memberships. I'm going to gift one right now. We'll get 8. If you get a membership from me, we're putting you in the Asmaniac raffle for a chance to win a signed Darrelle Revis helmet. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 membership has officially been gifted by yours truly. Hit it, Bane.
It would be extremely painful for you.
Can't wait to watch Ruben Bain at the Senior Bowl this upcoming week. He's going to be there. David Bailey's going to be there. Got a good list of people. Also, I thought this was amusing. I just checked my Twitter notifications. Look who followed me on Twitter, Jet fans. Former 2012 Jet draft pick, Quentin Coples. The guy that Rex Ryan gave the private workout to and said, that's the guy. Coples played with the Jets from 2012 to 2015. Then he played with Miami for part of 15. So I guess the Jets cut him at some point. He was drafted 16th overall by the Jets in 2012. That was the Chandler Jones draft. Mike Dem's in the house. He is in the Asmaniac raffle for 1. Mike, thank you. Colin Wolford in the house. He is in the Asmaniac raffle for 5. We're up to 14 memberships. 6 more, and we raffle away the Revis helmet at the end of the show.
We are mama way.
Morgan Garlow, Steve Hendel, D-Rock, Mike Ferrero, Tim Burr, all receiving a membership. Mike, your membership was gifted to Crazy12345. Colin, hope you're doing well, my man. Appreciate your support. Spencer Green in the house. He sends in a super chat and says, I want to win this prize. It'd mean a lot coming from a guy like you, one who simply doesn't believe in our Jets. Come on, Jake. It's time to be happy. You're alive and our Jets are on the rise. I mean, I'm happy to be alive, no doubt. I would debate if we're on the rise as Jet fans. I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. If this year is bad, I do believe that. But we got to still sit through another year of miserable football, potentially. On the rise. Spencer Green, everyone. A man of many delusions. A man of many delusions. More of your calls right now, ladies and gentlemen. We say hello to this guy.
Ricky, New York is my name. Florida State is my game. My internet sucks, call it Jake. When it's time to smoke and debate, the New York Jets are gonna win. My team since I was a kid. My New York Jets are gonna win. I'm Ricky, New York. Don't forget that. Florida State, bitches. New York Jets. We got this shit. It's time to win, baby. Win. Can't wait.
Hey, how you doing today, Jake?
Hello, Ricky. How are you?
You know what? Something occurred to me as you were talking to Kyle Clifton. I think when free agency gets here, we may have to redo his song so that it says JFM. He can play inside. He can play outside.
He can do that. You're not wrong.
Dude, like as you were talking to him and you said it, I was like, oh my God, that just makes too much sense to not do. But man, you know what? I think that being that the Jets said whoever the DC ends up being will have some input as far as what we use these draft picks on. Dude, we've got a lot of draft picks. I think that makes this somewhat of an appealing job. You kind of get to help mold the defensive side in your image. So I think our shots at landing like a Leonard might be a little bit better than people think. And I'm just hoping Leonard feels like the way that Glenn did, wants to be the one to come and help turn this team around. Because we could definitely use a really good hire like that. I'm not giving up hope on the Willis idea, just because Miami hired a Packers defensive guy to be their coach doesn't mean it's for sure that Willis is going there. So looking forward to the free agency kicking off and looking really forward to the Senior Bowl this weekend. A lot of people that I want to get a closer eye on this weekend. But Jake, I don't rarely do this. However, I have to plug my own show because
the Ricky NY shameless plug, folks.
Yes. Well, I'm also giving away a helmet this month, not this Saturday, but the next Saturday. So the last chance to get in will be tonight and Tuesday night at 8. And all you got to do is call in. The very first caller gets their name in the raffle, and it's a Garrett Wilson helmet. And hey, so we may not all like Aaron Glenn, but I guarantee you all of us love Garrett Wilson. So first person to call in tonight gets in on a Garrett Wilson signed helmet.
Hell yeah, Ricky. Enjoy it.
Right on, man. Have a great day, Jake.
You too, Ricky. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Revis helmet is up for grabs on this show. We get 6 more gifted memberships. We're at 14 right now. So we're 6 away. This was sent to me by someone on Twitter. It's from a couple days ago, but I didn't see it. Someone DM me this. I'm assuming that this is a recent photo, but I got a kick out of this. At Vince Paz tweeted, "I simply can't escape Aaron Glenn." And it's Aaron Glenn on an airplane. That's Glenn with his suitcase there. And the guy Vince has the icon Fire Glenn in his Twitter caption. So, assuming this is not AI, it looks like a real photo to me. You imagine running into Aaron Glenn on a flight? Do you say to him, "Who wanna fly with them jets? Who wanna fly with United Economy Plus?" But objectively speaking, a hilarious photo. Who wanna fly with them jets? Aaron Glenn on the airplane. The caption is, "I simply can't escape Aaron Glenn." It's hilarious. The comments are brutal. I won't even read all of them. I'll do Glenn a solid. All right. I'm at the comments on X. Ladies and gentlemen, last chance here. Our next caller, I don't know if he's actually there. It's going to be interesting. I don't see him. I just see an empty chair. But screw it. We'll try it anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, let's say hello to a man who needs no introduction. But we have one for him anyway. Hit it.
Purple Belt Mike, he loves the dark night. He's got a green pool and he jumps right in. Maybe someday he'll get a brown belt, but for now he's just that Purple Belt Mike. Purple Belt Mike, it might be purple, but he can still kick your dirty ass.
Yo, I'm making an espresso. I just wanted to talk about Aaron Glenn for a second. So I know people in the chat going crazy about, you shouldn't fire a guy after 1 year and you bring up stats or whatever, but it's impossible to be optimistic without delusion. And that's where we're at. So cheers to 2027. Hopefully we get these draft picks right and they do enough that they don't completely dishearten us more than we already are, and we can get a real coach in here with a real staff and develop a quarterback. And that's why I want no reason and nowhere near Ty Simpson, because I don't trust them to develop him and it to work out. So get 2 players, get Tate, get Bain, somebody else at 16. Do what you got to do. Improve the roster a little bit. Quarterback 27. Offensive head coach, and let's try and fix it then. But another year of pain, see what happens.
Amen. And Mike, just so you know, Jay thinks you're wearing a Giants hoodie. Can you please tell him that you would never?
Come on, dude. Seriously? It's not even close to the Giant logo. What the fuck, man? God damn. Fuck. Oh, my God. I'm out. Fuck it.
Ladies and gentlemen, there he goes. Purple belt Mike.
Don't let go of the rope. What rope are you talking about? This whole team looks like it's shot to shit. Who the hell do you think you are? I am. You noticed, huh?
You're wearing a Gator McCluskey shirt? Whoa.
That's right. That's right. And are we ready for the raffle?
Not yet.
String in the cheese.
Hey, I want to give some love to a listener who just purchased a Tank for Art shirt, Miguel Martinez. Thank you, Miguel. I put you in the raffle for 5. Those are the rules. You do it during the show, and we get you in. So appreciate you, Miguel. JakeAsman.com/shop. Rich says, hit the like. It's free. It is free to like the video. Mike Dem's in the house. Mike, thank you. He has gifted 5 channel memberships.
JETS, Jets.
I said we do the raffle if we got 20, so we're 1 away, and I'm going to gift the 20th membership, and we will officially have 20 during the show, and that will put us at the threshold number I needed to justify spinning the wheel of champions for this daily raffle prize. Yours truly has just gifted 1 channel membership. Let's go. Tywin Valleys 452 is the recipient of the membership, putting him in for 1. Beautiful. We're at 20. We will spin the wheel momentarily. I have to count the full list of names. Gator says, purple belt Giants fan. Sham says, the New York Hockey Giants. KJ says, Carlin tried to make the case for us to trade up to get Mendoza. I think that'd be a mistake. Within reason, right? Obviously, if it's like you pick 2 and 16 this year, and that's all it is, okay, I'm in. Even if it's like pick 2, 1 of our seconds, and a 1 next year, I'm more willing to listen to that. But some of the proposed trades we've seen where it's like 3 1s to move up 1 spot, I don't think you could justify it. Jason Picker, our guy in Jerusalem who called earlier, in the raffle for 1.
We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're shit.
Darth Crypto, another entry here. He gifted earlier, so now he's up to 6 entries during the show. Thank you. Addison reports he just came from outside and the sky isn't falling. That's good. That is good. Frank P says tank for Tomlin. Well, we know we have the 69 team on the case.
Look, we got Tomlinson. He ain't getting out of here. Get comfortable, pal, because as soon as Woody wakes up, he's going to make you a rich man.
Unreal. We got our best people on it. Ricky says, JT, the Brick Raiders guy. Yeah, I played that video. He said 3 1s and a player or 4 1s is the conversation starter for Mendoza, which I think is insane. I like him as a prospect. I don't know if I'd do that for anyone. I don't think I would do that for Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence needed the right coach to finally start playing like this top 10 quarterback in the league, top 5 guy. Miguel says, I just ordered my Tank for Art shirt. I know you did, Miguel. I just shouted you out. You're in the raffle for 5. Thanks for watching, man. Can't wait for 2027. I told you, we Jet fans, we do always try and find the positive. We have March for Arch and Tank for Arch in the store. I'm going to make tank tops too, by the way, for Tank for Arch. Someone suggested that we need tank tops if we're selling a tank shirt. Barbarossa would do both first this year and one next year. Totally reasonable if you believe in the player. Boomtown says even Bo Callahan didn't cost 4 ones. Let's get Kevin Costner in the Jet front office. Why not? Bring Jennifer Gardner with you. And then who was the coach in draft day? It was the guy in Ice Age, the actor. Dennis Leary. Coach Penn. Diddy was in that movie too. So was Chadwick Boseman, R.I.P. Vontae Mack, no matter what. They actually had a great cast in that movie. Sam Elliott was in that movie, for those who watch Landman. Tom Welling was in that movie. Terry Crews was in that movie. Such a horrific movie, but very entertaining. Leader of Jets. I'll give the man credit. We sparred verbally. I had my fun making fun of him, but he became a channel member after all. Don't spoil the Landman final, Gator. I see that comment. I'm not caught up yet. I have like 4 episodes in season 2 to still watch. Do not spoil the Landman finale. I can't wait to watch it. KJ wants to know, how does an NBA team only score? Well, I'm glad the Knicks showed up last night, but God, the Nets are awful. The Knicks needed that win badly, though. They were lost 9 of 11. You know, thank God for the Nets. Where's Gary at? He's not calling in. Leader of Jets. If they take Ty Simpson number 2, I'm giving you a Ty Simpson jersey. Jay says, love Sam Elliott and Landman's great. Landman is a phenomenal show. Now, season 2 has not started as great as season 1. Season 1 was amazing every episode. Like, it was like, wow, this is like some of the best TV I've seen in a long time. But I've heard from Gator and others that the finale for Landman's great. I'm just not there yet. Billy Bob Thornton is, in fact, great. The whole cast is really great, though. But Billy Bob is phenomenal. Arian Foster was in draft day. He was. I mean, they had a lot of people that were NFL people in it, right? Dion was in it. Rich Eisen was in it. Chris Berman was in it. Goodell is in it. Ray Lewis is in it. John Gruden's in it. Bernie Kosar's in it. Demario Davis. John Gruden. Jim Brown. Terrible movie, but great cast. Landman, and it was awesome. Billy Bob buys the Jets, and we won a Super Bowl. He's got that oil and gas money. All right, we'll do one more call, and then the raffle. I'm counting names, so if you want in on the Revis raffle, we will spin the wheel shortly. Hep, you're closing us out before we spin the wheel. What's up, Hep?
Okay, I'm thinking like the NFL has changed, Jake. You know, and Sable's right on it. We're talking about the game is now score more points than the next guy. The old days of like defense and rah, 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 you guys are tougher than the other guy. That's over. The game is about the nerds designing plays to get people open. And I'm thinking like we're closer to filling our offense than we are our defense. Let's finish the offense, man. Let's get some points on the board. It's been 100 years since we've been a threat on offense. Let's score some points. If I was Glenn, I would go up to Woody and say, listen, I'm not fixing this next year. We got a tough schedule. We're up against it. I said, I need 2 years. I want to make the bed for our offense when the quarterback comes in next year. And we'll start to fill out the defense through the free agency if we're possible. But, you know, I don't see it, man. I don't see it happening next year, especially with that defense. Me personally, I'd like to get 2 guards and a center in this draft. And then I like Love. You know, the guy touches the ball. The running backs touch the ball almost more than the quarterback, as equal as the quarterback. So it's like let's get some points on the board and be exciting for a change. I don't want to lose, You know, it's a crazy thing with defense was, but we had a good defense. We realized like, oh shit, they scored 20 points. We're like, we'll never score that much. We already knew it. We was like, we were a bunch of field goals. Anyway, that's my take. Sorry, Jake.
Hep, I appreciate it. Your plan, like, it won't work for Glenn to go to winning and be like, yeah, the schedule's tough. We're going to suck. Like, you can't say that if you're the coach. Like, if Glenn said that to Woody, he should be fired immediately. And you hire a plethora of good options that are still available right now. So I understand your point. Like, it's very tough to picture this being good next year, but like things happen in the NFL. If you're well coached, you make shrewd personnel moves, you could be an improved team. How did Saleh win 7 games with Zach Wilson? Right? Like the Jets in 2022 were not supposed to be a good football team. They started 6-3 and they were 7-4 before it fell apart. Like Glenn, I think if he got the Jets to 6-3 and they were 7-4, and even if they finished 7-10, I think there's a chance he gets a third year in that exact scenario that Saleh had. I just think that's really tough to picture right now. Gator says the Landman finale makes up for the slow burn season. All right. Well, that's exciting. I will say Andy Garcia is excellent in Landman, too. I didn't mention him. I know Ollie had a comment here. The female lawyer is great, too. Smoke show cast. I mean, let's call it for what it is, too. Also, Hep, you can't tell me about the game changing and then advocate for a running back, by the way. We can't do that. Hawk sees a path to 10-7. Hawk, please tell us about that path. Jake West says, you see the Bears building off what they did this past year. Well, I love what Ben Johnson said, how we're starting right at the bottom. Like there's no building on this year. Like we're back at the bottom. I think teams make that mistake thinking they're closer than they are. Look, the Bears won a lot of games really close. And they also forced an abnormal amount of turnovers. Year over year, there could be some regression there. So I think the Bears can be better next year, but it's not a guarantee. They need Caleb to be better next year. Banking on just being great in the fourth quarter is not enough. I think he will improve, and I think the Bears can be good next year because I think Ben Johnson's a real coach. But it wouldn't shock me if the Bears went from a division winner to a team that is a wild card team. It's hard. Amanda Madison says, Michelle Randolph is one hot broad. Her and Glenn Powell are such a power couple. I met Glenn Powell. Friend of the show, Glenn. Well, not this show, my old radio show. I met Glenn Powell before he was Glenn Powell. Like he was not big then. We had him when he was promoting Top Gun pre-COVID at a Super Bowl. We had him on the show. I don't have that photo handy, so I can't show it. Jaco says, so doesn't that prove that every year is different unless you have a franchise QB? I don't think that proves it at all. You need good coaching. The best teams in the league consistently win. Look at Mike Tomlin. Does he have a franchise quarterback? Harbaugh did it with 2 different quarterbacks. You need a coach and quarterback, Jake West. And then, yes, you need a team around them, but it's not. But, like, if you don't have either, like the Jets right now, what do you do? Leader of Jets says, am I entered for the spin? You are. Gator says, so great to finally have a show for men. Landman, not weak-ass clowns sucking douchebags. I tried to read that in a beast voice for you, Gator. What?
Calm your freaky down.
All right. Are we ready to spin the wheel of champions? I think we are. Ladies and gentlemen, the man to help us spin the wheel is our master of ceremony.
Shout out to Grady McCluskey for giving me the 22. Now to the Macho Man. Hey, what's up there, Jake? How you doing on this beautiful Thursday morning? No, The clouds are in the air, the sun is out, and sure it's trying to cool outside. But you know what? Enough about the talking. It's time to get down to some action. Now, let's spin the 2026 Wheel of Champions. Don't you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And remember, step into a Slim Jim. Ooh, yeah. Dig it.
It's time to announce the winners of the weekly Asmaniac raffle. Let's spin the Jake Asman Show Wheel of Champions and find out which Asmaniac is winning an epic prize.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is time. Good luck to everyone. Thank you for your support. If you entered the show for the second show yesterday and this morning, this combines everyone. One spin to determine the winner. If you win, email me, asmanjake@gmail.com. If you forget, it is in the description for every YouTube video. Your name and address, so we know where to send the signed Darrelle Revis helmet. It includes a certificate of authentication, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner is... No way, the big fella. He's done it. He's the winner, Coach Herm.
Hello? You play to win the game.
Well, today, we played to win a signed helmet by Darrelle Revis. Big fella, you're the man. Hit it. Congrats to the big fella. Thank you to everyone for their support. Big fella's in the chat. Love that. Big fella, I'll message you on the Discord, and you'll confirm your address, and I'll get it ordered for you coming up today. All right, that does it for me. We are back this afternoon. Dylan Terraman will join us in the 4 o'clock hour. Stay tuned for that. I'm on the Jets Roundtable with Richie and Matt at 3 before then, so Jet content galore on the program today. You guys are the best. Let me get out of here with one last super chat from our guy Addy in LA. Says Kobe Bryant's 81-point game was 20 years ago today. RIP Kobe. The Mamba, the Black Mamba. Love it. All right. Thank you all for your support. You guys are the greatest. Hang in there, Jet fans. We are all in this together. JETS. 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 Jets.
Happy New Year!
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.